Hey, welcome to
FunMath number 175.
FunMath number 175. Okay, we're starting chapter 10 of our problem solving algebra book today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about quadratic equations. So the very first example in this chapter was looking at this equation, x squared minus 16 equals 0. Okay, and do you remember what we found were the solutions to that?
Well, we isolate the variable. We get x squared is 16.
Yeah, that's right.
And x can be 4 or minus 4.
Yeah.
Because they both square to be 16.
Right, can you hand me that eraser? It's right behind your feet. Right, so the one interesting thing we found right away in the very first example in the book was that these kinds of equations, quadratic equations, can have two solutions instead of linear equations which just have one solution. So that was actually pretty neat, right? Mm-hmm. And so you asked a good question. What does this look like on a graph? So we played around on Mathematica a little bit instead of following the book. And we found that this equation, here was minus 4 and here was plus 4, was a parabola. And it sort of looked like that. It's probably not the best parabola anyone's ever drawn. But and apparently I can't even make the arrows right. But it looked sort of like this. And that was actually pretty neat. And one other one we looked at was I just shifted this up a little bit. If you look at x squared, you get a parabola that just kisses the origin right like that. And it keeps going up. Try to draw those arrows a little better. But here's an interesting one that we didn't talk about that I just wanted to show you. So this one had two solutions, plus 4 and minus 4. X squared equals 0 had only x equals 0 was the solution to this. But what I didn't talk about was x squared plus 1 equals 0. So I thought we'd talk about this in the movie. X squared plus 1 equals 0.
Well,
So
x squared is negative 1.
So that parabola is going to look like this. It's going to be shifted up, and it's never going to cross the x-axis.
Well, x squared, it means x squared is negative 1.
X squared has to be negative 1, which never happens, right? Because when you take any integers and square them, or any numbers and square them, like 1 squared is always positive, minus 1 squared.
So x is either I or negative I.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting... It was equations like this that got people wondering about these other numbers. Remember I said you had two solutions most of the time. That special one, x squared, seemed to only have one solution. This one seems to have no solutions. But since we've talked about I before, x equals I and x equals minus I are both solutions of this equation. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. But where are they on the graph?
They're imaginary numbers.
Yeah, so people had to spend a lot of time thinking about this. So quadratic equations are really important. One reason they're important is it led to people starting to understand imaginary numbers. They're important for a lot of other reasons too, but this is one thing. So we got into this a little bit. This is going to be a really fun chapter. Can't wait. Can't wait to talk about this with you. You excited?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good job.